I'm Frank Lynch, a partner at Wolter Beeman Lynch in Londrigan. I also have the privilege of serving as chair of the United Way's Community Impact Committee. Since its establishment, the United Way has grown, has become a leader in the community, and has continued to work to listen to our community and become more efficient. Today, United Way brings together organizations, community leaders, and investors like you to support the health and human service needs of our community. Our volunteers start with a simple question: how can we leverage our relationships and your investments to create lasting, measurable change in our community? To answer this question, we turn to the community by hosting community meetings where local business and community leaders, service providers, and investors like you discuss the most pressing issues and the best strategies for addressing them. Our Vision Councils, panels of experts who have worked a lifetime in their respective issue areas, use this feedback coupled with research and the local data to develop strategies aimed at addressing specific challenges in the area of basic needs, education, financial stability, and health. More than ever before, United Way is working to make sure your investment is creating positive change in our community by helping those in crisis today and investing in results-oriented solutions for tomorrow.
In the area of basic needs, the United Way is trying to address two issues: emergency food and emergency shelter. So the goal is twofold. First of all, to make sure that nobody in our community has to go hungry. And second, to ensure that emergency shelter and provisions are available.
So what we looked for were programs that could work together to serve a broader spectrum of people, for example, and do it with less duplication.
The Education Vision Council really focused this year on a priority in having students be prepared for kindergarten and having that foundation in place to be successful then through their schooling process. And after that initial foundational piece, there was a lot of discussion and priority placed on continuing to maintain and stay up to speed with that development during the school years and having a successful transition to middle school, and ultimately having a seamless segue into the high school experience.
Financial stability is a new area for United Way, and so we all sort of struggled with how do we define it. And it's basically helping families and individuals live more financially independent, to help them be stable without depending on others for their care. And we identified three priorities. One is to help people better manage their money, the notion of putting together a budget, being able to save priorities, not overextending their use of debt. Another one is obtaining jobs that pay livable wages, and so what kind of job skills or practices and interviewing or transportation needs or childcare needs do people have to be successful in employment. And then the last one is stable housing.
So we were very much aware of and looking at what's the return on investment for this effort and what is going to be the impact in the community of the funding that United Way can provide.
Those community meetings really provided the same information that the numbers provided, except that we had stories to go with those numbers, and we also have individuals speaking up, telling us what they need. And to me, this was really good because that lends itself to a certain level of empowerment. So these community members are now taking an active part in not only their health care, but the health care of their families and other community members.
Finding, engaging, and helping to navigate and connect at-risk populations is another big priority. Giving the tools and education and connections that are needed for prominent community members and community leaders who are often turned to for healthcare decisions was another priority. And then that access to mental health services especially, and delivery of mental health services was the last one.
This is sort of what all the research and textbooks say you should do. You should set community priorities and identify outcomes for measuring the results and hold people accountable and then make improvements. But very few organizations actually do it.
And what's exciting to me is I think this thing's going to take on a life of its own. I would encourage people to be involved. I would encourage people to invest in the United Way, because you are going to see through this process something that's really unique and amazing.
I'm Cap O'Keefe, a lifelong resident of Springfield. I practice law with Brown Hand Stevens, the oldest law firm in Illinois, and am this year's volunteer chair of the United Way campaign. Like many of you, I was taught the importance of giving back to our community and supporting the nonprofit services which make our community a better place to live, to work, and to raise a family. This is why my family has been supporters and volunteers of United Way for over 60 years. My father chaired the campaign in 1957 and continuing to 1982 when I first chaired the campaign. Last year, people like you and me invested more than $1.5 million in the community fund. And thanks to the gifts of 9 local companies paying for United Way's fundraising and administrative costs, every dollar, in fact every penny, we invested in the community fund went directly to local programs, making our community a better place to live and improving each of our lives. This year, we want to increase support for local services with a 5% increase in the community fund. A 5% increase at a time when other sources of funding for these services are uncertain. This year, join me in making an undesignated gift and help United Way provide as much program funding as possible for services making a real impact in our community. Thank you for considering a gift during this year's campaign.